What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, coming at you today with another episode of Does It Suck? The show where we take a deep dive look at a new game and see what's good or bad about it. This time we're going to be digging into Jump Force, because this morning, at literally 4 a.m., they finally started an open beta, so I decided to wake up at the crack of dawn, play some of it, and give you some opinions. Because this is a game that I've been interested in, but a little bit skeptical of simultaneously. Because this is an anime fighter, but one that isn't going to be like Dragon Ball FighterZ or something in the vein of Marvel vs. Capcom. Instead, this is much more focused on the fans of the TV shows, the animes, instead of trying to be a technical brawler. With that being said though, I have to say that my initial impressions are very, very positive, but there is just two things about this that I think are very big flaws. So let's talk about how this game plays. As you can see, this is sort of an over-the-shoulder beat-em-up that allows you to fly towards your opponent, use big special moves, and constantly try and pound them into the dirt. There is something about this that's very, very unique, and I want to talk about that first, which is that this is a team-based fighter, meaning that you pick at the beginning 3 different people that you want to play as. But where this stands apart is that they share a single health bar, meaning that if you manage to kill any of these players, you win the entire round. The first person to win 2 rounds wins the entire match. Now, I think that this is a very interesting change because it makes it where instead of trying to constantly swap out different opponents to drag a certain round out, instead what you're doing is focusing on what each player's particular skills are. Like if I'm playing as Kenshin, he obviously has a sword that gives him slightly longer range. And he's also got some really good dash attacks. So if I'm using him, I'm going to be trying to focus on using the combos of his that are the most effective against that particular person. On the other hand, if I suddenly get cornered and I'm getting my freaking face pounded in by Frieza or Vegeta or something, then I need to be able to instantly swap out for somebody who's going to be extra strong against that guy. Now, as you see all these characters, I'm sure it's immediately apparent, but this is all from the Shōnen Jump universe, which means you're going to be seeing people like Naruto or people from Yu Yu Hakusho. It is definitely very, very focused on weebs, and I don't mean that in a mean way. I'm just saying that this is all about anime fandom. Now, I do want to say that something I feel like is a little bit of a drawback. The first thing that I really want to focus on as a drawback is the fact that this game requires prior knowledge. You have to know these shows very, very well to be good at fighting online. The reason I say that is because this combat is very, very centered on special moves. Now, these are very easy to pull off, thankfully. You just hold a trigger button and it will automatically start charging you up, filling up your special meter, and then by simply pressing, in my case, since I'm playing this on PlayStation 4, by holding R2 and pressing one of the face buttons, I can immediately pull off any one of these giant specials. But here's the thing, they all behave very, very differently, so it's either going to be a Kamehameha or a special charge attack, but the thing is, you need to know what it is before you use it. Obviously, right? I mean, if you're pulling off a special, you need to know how to use it. Is it going to be short range or long range? And I noticed that a lot of these are something that are from very deep in the anime, and that means that they can behave very differently. If I'm trying to pull off Sasuke's Chidori, I know that this is a dash attack. I'm going to be closing the range into my opponent and trying to rip them apart. Now, if I'm accidentally using it against somebody who has a counter special, well then I'm going to get torn up. That's something about this is that you have to know every single one of these animes very, very well, or be willing to get your butt kicked for a couple hours as you learn everybody's ins and outs. It's something that's not necessarily a giant detriment, it's just something of, if I ran into somebody from an anime that I hadn't watched all 300 episodes of, like Bleach, I would occasionally just get utterly demolished because I didn't know what I was going into. Let's talk a little bit more about just the general combat though, just the things you're going to be doing with your fists, because this is by far the best part of the game. It is so simplistic and easy to learn that I loved it. Basically, this is sort of a 2-button fighter. You have a strong attack and a fast attack, but to go with this, there are a series of different motion options, and what I mean by that is that you can have something that'll automatically dash you forward called the charge. And it makes it where if you manage to land a really good hit that knocks somebody across the stage, you need to immediately tap charge to pursue them. That way you can close the range and continue that combo. Now the other thing that can put a nice little twist on this is that there is a counter system. By tapping something like R1, which can be typically your dodge button, you can turn around a combo in the middle of it. Now this is very difficult to pull off, and it's not something where you can just quickly spam tap R1 to turn it around. You need to tap it at the exact right millisecond, but it makes it where as they're bashing you around the field, you will suddenly switch places with them and be beating their faces in. The reason I like this so much is because it feels like a way of trying to encourage people to think about the timing of blows to create a really long string. There is also grab attacks by tapping circle, but this is something that's only usually used to try and break up these square and triangle combos, your fast attacks and strong attacks. There are also what are called charge blasts, or basically super big hits. These can be done by holding down square or triangle, but I didn't find these particularly useful. The only time I'd really try and dish this out is if I was going against a less experienced player or somebody who is foolish enough to be trying to charge up their special meter right in my face. This system is really cool from the ground up because it makes it where you're constantly just flying around the stages, landing that next big punch, getting countered, being blown back, and then hitting them with the next big special. This does bring me to something else though that I think is very unique because you have to know the animes to properly utilize it, which is a form of Ascension. So you have your special meter, which is charged up by holding down a trigger button, but there's something else. This is for all your offensive abilities, but there is a sort of defensive charge meter as well. As you take damage, there's this little circle that will appear at the corner of the screen every 3 or 4 hits. As you're getting your face beat in, you'll slowly charge this up, and it basically makes it where you can ascend and grow to a stronger form. Just as an example, check out Frieza. I was getting my butt kicked a little bit here and there, and so I managed to finally get enough power to become powered up Frieza. I grew my giant muscles and it increased my attack power, making it where every single blow was a lot more devastating. And I like this because it actually carries over from round to round. So if you get utterly demolished in round 1, you have a chance to, about midway through round 2, power yourself up and try and make a dramatic comeback. With that being said though, it does bring me to the other thing that I feel like is a very big drawback, which is that this game, for how gorgeous it is and how cool it is to try and constantly get bigger, beefier characters and learn bigger combos and try and chain together attacks, it can sometimes be very difficult to actually follow the action. I'm sure you've probably noticed this while watching my gameplay, but sometimes you are just seeing so many zoomed in combo special attacks that are blasting people everywhere that it's very difficult to just see where you are actually at. I think that this is a little bit of a problem, and I think it could easily be solved if there were an option to zoom the camera out some. I mean, some of these times I was just completely lost inside of a special move where I knew I'd managed to block something or dodge something, but if Goku's spirit bomb is coming down from the heavens, it's very difficult to see where exactly I'm at sometimes. And it can be a little bit frustrating when I'm just trying to position myself for that next big comeback if I'm literally lost in a sea of kinetic energy. I wish that there was just a way to make this stuff a little bit clearer, or possibly give us a teleport button. I played a lot of other J-Stars games, like J-Star Victory Versus. And something that game allowed that I thought was really smart was that it had a lot of things to make it where you could constantly recenter the camera or even teleport to your opponents. It had a separate energy system to make it where you couldn't just spam teleport, but it really helped you stay centered on the moment-to-moment beats, what's going on, where people are at, and what exactly you need to do next to not completely lose. Overall though, I was very impressed by this beta, and since it is an open beta. I hope you all install it just to see what's really going on. I'm probably going to buy this game, but maybe after a bit. I think what's really going to happen here is I want to make sure that the story mode is really good, because if you're trying to cross over all these different anime universes, I'd like to have a good, or at least goofy, excuse as to why it's happening. What are your thoughts on this beta? Did you get a chance to try it, and who is your favorite character? I will tell you straight up, I am a monster when it comes to playing as Vegeta, so I'm going to be playing a ton of him online if I end up buying this. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. I'm recording this at like 7 a.m. and now I'm going to go to PAX South. So if you're at PAX South, keep an eye out for me. Bye! Keep dreaming! Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.